welcome to Quilting Window. I'm Edita Sitar from Laundry Basket Quilts, and I'm super excited to share with you today one of my favorite baskets. We're gonna learn how to make the block, and we're gonna use some fun tools when we're making it. Let's see what's in our quilting basket today. You'll find a pattern. In the pattern you have direction for cutting, all the measurements and every fabric requirements that you need. We're gonna use a fun tools, that's a bias tape maker, and that's a fusible tape that we're gonna use in a bias tape maker. I really like that for making handles. I'm gonna use some fun Aurifil threads. Those are winter essentials from me. You're gonna love those. And if you wanted to hand applique, the tulip needles would be fun. Machine applique, Microtex needle, and I have a fun pencil to mark things with it. That's a soul line pencil. I think you would enjoy it. Let's get to it. First, let's start with our fabric. When we're gonna be making baskets, we're gonna be cutting from fat quarters. Out of one fat quarter, you get 4 baskets. Well, it's kind of fun. They can repeat in your quilt. You can share some baskets with your friends. I like cutting from fat quarters because they're easy to press and easy to work with. You're gonna need a light background fabric, and for this quilt right here, you have the same background for the whole quilt. We will also have some kits available if you wanted to. Make sure you visit our website. So look at this. I have some of the fabrics right here, and what you're gonna need is light. From the light, you're gonna cut a background for the handle. You're gonna cut a square for the bottom of the basket. You're gonna cut one square, and this square you're gonna cut to 4 quarter square triangles. This is gonna be the body of the basket. So I'm gonna save one for us to work with it right away. We also gonna need one dark square that's gonna be a base of our basket. I'm gonna save that next to me. And we're gonna cut a bias for our handle. Let's talk about the bias, how you cut it. So I have a piece of fabric right here. This is the salvage edge right here. This is a straight grain, and I need a bias cut. So I love to take one of my big rulers, just like this one, and I find a 45 degree on my ruler right here. Then I'm going to place that 45 degree matching with that edge, with that straight grain edge, and I'm gonna make a cut. Once I make a cut using my rotary and a ruler, I'm gonna get strips that are 3/4 inch, and they have a little bit more movement to it. Those called bias strip. We're gonna use them when we're gonna make our handle. Awesome. Okay, so we finish our cutting. Let's clean up our area, because now we're gonna assemble our lovely basket. First thing, you're gonna take your square, background square, you're gonna place another square right over, a dark one, just like this. And I'm gonna use another ruler, a smaller one this time, and my pencil from my quilting basket. With that, I'm going to draw a line right here from this point to this point. Just draw a wonderful little line, just like this. This line is gonna indicate for me where I need to sew. And I did one already right here for you guys. So I sewed it straight down, and look what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna take my ruler, I'm gonna take my rotary, and cut off away from the stitch line a 1/4 inch. Do you see where I cut it? A 1/4 inch away from the stitch line. Next step, I'm gonna open this up, and you can either finger press it, gently open, or you could use the iron and press it. And next thing, I'm going to now cut it half square triangle from this. What that means, I cut it from this point to this point, grab my rotary, and cut it just like this. Look what happened now. Oh, it didn't cut, so I have to finish it up. Now I have cut this. When I open it up, I created the 2 bottom parts of my basket. So what we need next is, let's line up our basket, see if we have all the pieces. So I have my body of my basket, that's the triangle, the two sides. Then I have the top to my basket, and I have my handle. First thing that I'm going to do is grab my triangle, take this one, place it right over, just like this, and sew it using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Notice it how I match it up beautifully, this corner. When I sew pieces like this, I like to use Macrotex needle, and I like to use my Aurifil thread. And when I start up sewing, I made sure that I have a little fabric, that it's my startup fabric. And then when I come to this point, then my needle doesn't push my fabric into the bobbin. This is very important because you want to have a nice startup point. When I finish sewing, I would then open this up, push the seam allowance towards my basket, and I proceed with the second one. I have prepared one already for us right here, so you get to see it. Now notice it, I'm showing you this from the back so you can see where the seam allowances are going. When you flip it to the front, you have a wonderful base of a basket. So this is ready, set, go. Now let's focus on our handle. And that's the part that I'm super excited about it, because I'm gonna get to play with you and those cute little tools. All right, so for this part, we're gonna need an ironing board. And when I'm making handles, I get in a mood of making handles, and I don't make a one, I make all the handles for all my blocks for the whole quilt. So if you're making 12 blocks, make 12 handles. It just, like I said, repeating things make it really good. I have my tools, I'm gonna have my background piece, and now let me grab a bias tape. I have one right here, okay? And how I make this handle. I'm gonna need a little pin, and we're gonna start by placing your fabric. The fabric needs to be right side up, and you're gonna push it through this little hole right here. And I take a pin to help myself pull this through. Now I'm gonna measure a little bit of this tape. This is fusible webbing tape, and I'm gonna measure long enough that it's long enough for my handle. I'm gonna tear it that part, and now I'm gonna weave that through my little tool. Now guys, this is so much fun. You can make a bias tape without this part if you wanna, but then you're gonna need the pins or little glue to secure your handle to the background. But I'm thinking ahead. I'm gonna put this little bias tape and a fusible webbing tape in, and what it's gonna happen, the fusible webbing, first of all, is gonna hold the two raw edges of my tape as they're coming together, but also it's gonna be great when I have to put my handle into the background. So look at this. When I start, let's make sure our iron is hot. When I start, sometimes I need an extra hand, but I don't have it, so I get a pin, and I'm going to first, yep, the iron is getting nice and warm. I'm gonna first fuse the little tip. So I just fuse this in place. Okay, got it. This iron needs to be set on cotton, so make sure your iron is nice and warm, set on cotton, and no water in your iron, because the water is gonna work against the low fusible webbing, and we don't want that. So once we have fused just the beginning, just that little tip, I'm gonna take a pin and I'm gonna push it down. And notice I'm pushing it on an angle because I'm gonna be pulling my bias tape maker this way, so I want something to hold against me. So right there, with the tip of my iron, I'm gonna secure my bias tape and make a really pretty one. I'm not afraid to stop, fix this end right here, make sure that it's rolling really nice and feeding it into the bias tape maker, and keep going, making a really nice bias tape maker. Look at it. I'm not afraid to stop, fix things up, because sometimes we hold our breath, we go through the whole process and things don't come out. No, take a time. It's quilting. We're doing it so we can relax and enjoy it. So this is it. Fix my tape and keep going like this. I'm gonna make a really fun handle. Oh, do I like that. And you can use this technique for all different sizes of basket. Okay, as soon as I finish, I take my pin out, let my handle roll it in place and relax for a few seconds. In the meantime, we're gonna use the iron. In the meantime, I'm gonna go to my pattern, and in the pattern, you're gonna find a template, and it goes arch template. Instead of drawing on your background, I want you to make yourself an arch template, and this is the arch that we're gonna follow when we applying our handle. You are gonna love this part of it. I'm gonna take my background, I'm gonna place it in front of me, I'm gonna gently press it to secure and make sure that there is no wrinkle in my background. Then I'm gonna fold it in half, just like this. Fold it in half, and then make a gentle crease with my finger, not with the iron, just with my finger. That crease indicates where there is a middle of my background, and I'm gonna match the middle with the center line on my template. And I just want to tell you, if you're making one basket, you can use the pattern to iron around it, around this template. So just cut this right out, and you can use it one time. If you're planning to make more than one basket, make sure you make an arch like this out of a cardboard. Manila folders are great. Maybe a template material. I like to use manila folders because the paper is so easy, transfer the heat, and I can iron it around it as many handles as I want. So now let's lay this down. I'm going to have my crease, match my crease with the center line, and then there is also a line right here that it says align to the bottom of the rectangle. So this needs to end up in the bottom of the rectangle, a line, and I'm gonna take a pin and again use the pin to help me hold this template in place. Now check this out. Our handle has patiently waiting, and now no longer have to wait. We're going to gently peel the paper away. Just make sure that you don't take the fusible webbing when you're peeling the paper away. So I take my time and I gently do it, and I'm so excited because this is gonna hold my handle in place when I'm stitching by machine or by hand. It is just wonderful, and I don't have to use pins and jump over them up in my hands. So now I'm gonna place my handle right here, just like this, and I'm gonna take my iron, and now with my iron I'm gonna guide my handle bias tape around my arch of my template, and I'm going to iron it in place with just one smooth round of ironing. Look at this, and make sure that your beginning and end of your handle, you start and finish, and take your time so the handle doesn't open like this, that it's just sitting where it's supposed to. Now check this out. Having this template gives me a perfect arch. I'm gonna put that to the side. Remember, when you're making a lot, make yourself a paper, like a cardboard template, and look at what happened right now. I just ironed my handle, and it's perfect. When you are ironing, make sure you're not pulling on your bias tape, because that's what it's gonna pull your background. No, we don't want to do that. All that we need to do is now we have a background with a handle on it. We have the bottom of our basket. We're gonna place them right sides together, just like this. We're gonna sew it from this end down, trim, and as soon as we're done sewing, we can push the seam allowance towards the basket, trim little bunny ears, trim those little extra from the handle, trim this off after you sew it, and you are ready for the next step, what it's applique. And again, remember I told you when I finish a stage, I clean up my space. So let's do that right now. Nice clean space, and let's make a decision. You can applique this wonderful handle on your basket by machine, or you can do it by hand. If I do it by machine, I'm going to use a cotton thread in my bobbin. so cotton thread in my bobbin, and I would use a little bit darker color. The 2370 would work great. Why do I go for the darker one? Because as I'm sewing on my machine, sometimes the machine wants to bring the thread to the top, so you don't want to show that. You want to make sure you lower the tension on the top and the thread is a little bit darker so it hides behind your blue. Then on the top of the machine, I'm gonna use invisible thread. There is a great selection of beautiful invisible threads on the market. Please find your favorite. I have few of my favorites, and depends on the project, I use those. Aurifil has a great nylon invisible thread. There are wonderful Wonder invisible threads as well as Sulky invisible threads. Just choose the ones you like. You can use a nylon or polyester. Many times the machine would tell you which one she likes it. So you're gonna have to practice this on your machine, which thread will work great with your machine. Once you set your thread into the machine, you will also use that same needle. That Macrotex needle is great for machine applique. You're gonna set the tension on the top a little bit lower and set your machine on a small zigzag. Detailed direction for the applique and the setting you will find in our pattern. But today I want to focus on hand applique because I think this wonderful basket is a great beginner project for applique. This is not needle turn, this is hand applique because we're not turning the edges under. We're just gonna hand applique them, but it's a great startup if you ever want a needle turn later on. So what I'm going to do is, in this case, you can use the 2370 for the top. You could use silk thread, or you could go ahead and grab one of the threads that I have it in that blue set, Winter Essential. The blue matches with all the baskets. And what I'm going to do is I use a tulip needle, and all of those things you can find on our website or your local quilt stores. And then grab needle, put some thread in it. And I have learned that I don't cut a longer than an arm length of a thread. So from my finger to my elbow, that's how much thread I cut it. I put it into my needle, and now I'm gonna stitch. I do a double knot. I come from the back with a double knot. I'm gonna start up from the bottom, just like this, right here in a corner. And I'm going to put tiny little stitches on the edge of my piece, just like this, and they're like a little slip stitch. I'm slipping right through my background, and I'm catching the edge right here of my handle. So there would be the stitch that I would like you to practice when you're making your handle, if you're doing it by hand. I love sitting and relaxing and appliquing. What is fun with this basket is, notice it from the back. Look at how tiny my stitches are right here. Just tiny little stitches. You want to catch just the background and the edge of your handle. Just like that. Oh, this is gonna be fun. So guys, you just finished a basket. I'm so excited I was able to share this with you. And if you know how to make a one, you can make a dozen. And if you can make a dozen, you can make it in any size you want it. Look at this cute little quilt. The same technique, the same idea. I hope you had fun. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and our website. Happy quilting!